I have gathered 10 of my favorite Dollar Tree spring and Easter wreath ideas for your front door. Stick around because I have a surprise bonus DIY at the end. Hi, I'm Loli. Let's create something beautiful and find a little joy along the way. We're going to start with these beautiful tulips that we got from Dollar Tree. They are kind of like a velvet texture. And I'm going to add them to the top section of the carrot here, just feeding them through that second bracket. And I'm going to try to arrange them in the way I would like them to be. Then I took some of my masking tape that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap the entire wreath form with the tape, starting from the top, holding the flowers in place so they stay exactly in the position I need them. And I'm going to just wrap them all the way down, covering the entire wreath form. This is so that orange doesn't show through at the end of the project, and also so I have more surface area to attach the next piece for the next step on this project. I'm just going to continue to wrap all the way around, and then I'm going to come back on those areas in which I can still see the orange pretty strongly and add some more tape on those areas. All right, once everything was nicely covered, I'm going to take this polka dotted fabric that I got from Dollar Tree. It's some burlap. I'm going to roll one side of it and position it in the areas in which you can see the corners of the carrot wreath form. Then adding a little bit of hot glue, I'm going to glue one end to one of the sides, doing my best to avoid gluing the leaves onto it as well. I had to hold it there in place until that completely dries. My friends, please make sure in this step that you use your finger protectors, silicone tips or silicone spatula, something to protect your fingers, because it's not if, it's when you get burned. The burlap, the glue goes through the burlap very easily, so it is easy to injure yourself in this step. So I just kept using my silicone finger protectors, as you see there, holding it in place until that hot glue sets. And I did that until I went all the way down the end of the carrot. Then I trimmed off the excess fabric so it will be a lot easier to work with it. And glued the remaining fabric down just as I did with the previous side. It is just very important to make sure that everything looks symmetrical and well in the front before we begin gluing anything down. At this point, I still had a little bit too much fabric, so I'm just trimming off the excess fabric here so it will be a lot easier to put this together. And I made sure that my end here was nice and neat. I just folded it down as you see there. Added a bit of hot glue to the bottom here and tucked the other one on top, and that closed up our end and gave the flowers another fluff. Next, I took this ribbon from Dollar Tree and I'm going to create a bow. I looped and crossed the bow as you see there, then continued to wrap that roll of ribbon over and behind to create a second loop on both sides, and then I did the same thing. I looped it one more time here, making sure that each one of those loops are about the same size, then wrapped it to the back and over, again leaving another loop on the other side. Then once I was happy with the size of my loops, I am going to leave a section of ribbon long enough to match the other tail on the other side. And then I scrunched it in the middle and tied it with a piece of jute cord. Friend, if you enjoyed the video so far, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you each time that I upload a new video. All these things are free and they mean the world to me. Thank you so much. All right, once that bow is nicely secured, I'm going to cut off the excess jute cord, and we are going to dovetail the ends of my tails. This simply means folding it in half long ways and then cutting a triangle upward to reveal that dovetail look. I fluffed my bow and added a little bit of hot glue to the middle and attached it to the top section of the burlap fabric. Next, I took one of these tags from Dollar Tree. They are paper tags, and I'm going to use this paint pen marker from Dollar Tree to write the word welcome. I'm going to just do it on my regular handwriting in lowercase as you see there. Then I came back on top of it to make each one of the letters a bit thicker. And then after that, I added dots on all of the ends of the letters. My friend, if you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and also let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. I love to know how far my videos are reaching. And share this video with someone because sharing is caring and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much. All right, so here at the bottom, I just did a little swoop, as you see there, with a little dot in the middle. And I went over it twice just to make it a little bit thicker. And I also formed like a little teardrop at the end of each one of those little swirls. And we're going to attach it to our arrangement. So I wish I would have put the word the other way because I'm looking at it right now and it looks a little backwards. But I don't know. I guess I would have done it from left to right. It might probably would have been a better way to read it. But anyway, I removed that twine that came with the tag. And I'm going to replace it with some jute cord. I'm just burning off the fuzzies. I'm going to fold it in half as you see there. So I am able to loop in the folded edge through that hole and then feed the tail through the loop that I created. And then I was able to put each end of this jute cord around my bow and tie it at the top. And I just secured it with a double knot and trimmed off the excess jute cord. To finish it off, I took a button and added it in the middle of that bow. And I thought this was the perfect finishing touch for this piece. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this one? For the next inspiration, we'll be using Sugar, another carrot wreath form. I removed the tag and we are going to cover it with this coconut husk liner from Dollar Tree. Using my scissors and some elbow grease, I'm going to cut it into 3 pieces. With the first piece, I'm going to cover the top section of the carrot, leaving the cut edge to the top. I'm going to cover the 3 prongs, but I'm going to make sure that I do not glue down the middle one, because that middle pointy piece at the top of the carrot will become our hanger. So I added a generous amount of hot glue on each side of the coconut husk and I folded it and held it in place until it was completely set. Then I took the remaining piece of coconut husk and I cut it in half. Then I split open that section. I found the middle section in between and then I pretty much spread it open and cut that section in half. And I'm going to continue to do this while I'm covering the entire wreath form. Please remember once again to use your finger protection because here we are working with the husk at half the thickness, so it is twice as likely that you will burn yourself with the hot glue. And this is what it looked like once it was all completely covered. There were some areas in which you can see through, so I decided to use the leftover pieces of coconut husk that I had, and I'm just gluing them on the places that are a little bit see-through at the back at the wreath form. And I just kept adding it in those areas so that way once this is hanging you will not be able to see through it. Next, I took these 4 picks from Dollar Tree. They are 2 of white flowers and 2 with lavender. I'm going to remove the tags off of them and position it onto my coconut husk. I am going to add it to the second pocket that I created at the top of this coconut husk. I'm just going to keep pushing them in and I'm going with 1 white, one lavender, and 1 white, 1 lavender in that order. There were some areas in which I had a little bit of resistance, so I just had to see exactly in the back where each pick was getting stuck, and then I pushed it all the way down and I continued to do that, putting them next to each other at about the same interval until I had all 4 positioned. Then I'm going to use this yardstick that I got from Family Dollar for $1, and I'm going to position it on one side, feeding it from the very top of the coconut husk, but I want it to be only to the side because I have more plants for the top section. I'm just going to feed it to see exactly in the angle in which I want to keep it, and then I will be gluing it down on the back. But before I glue it, I want to make sure that I add everything in and everything is in its place. I'm going to be adding a variety of sunflowers from Dollar Tree, starting with these yellow ones that I got during the fall season. I'm going to use a total of 2 picks of these yellow ones. I'm going to spread out the pick and stick them on the top section of the arrangement. Friend, if you're still with me this far into the video, I want to say thank you so much for sticking around. I truly appreciate you. Leave me your favorite emoji in the comment section so I know who you are. Thank you so much. Next, I'm arranging the flowers in between all the other greenery just to give it a more natural look. I am satisfied on how it's looking so far, so I'm going to go ahead and add hot glue in subsections of the stake of the cow or the bull. What is this, a cow or bull? Let me know in the comments. I think it's a bull because I see horns. Anyway, then I came in with some of these purple sunflowers from Dollar Tree as well. I also got these two in the fall season, and I'm going to add one pick and adding one flower in different sections. There were a couple sections in which the flowers did not want to cooperate, so I added a little bit of hot glue onto the coconut husk and add the stem of the flower onto it and held it there until it stayed put. I continued to trim off the flowers and added them different positions between the yellow ones. For the last 3 sunflowers, I just spread them apart and put them on the other side and arrange them in between the other flowers. And with that, this project is done. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about this one. And say hi to my kid. We will be using one of these wreath forms from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove that tag, and we are going to take some of this yarn that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to tie it on to the wreath, making sure to put it on all of the pieces you see right there. Distance it free a little bit, so I did a double knot, and then I cut off that excess yarn, and I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue onto it to keep everything in place. Once it was nicely secured, I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to wrap it around, making sure that my strands are very close together so I'm completely covering each piece of the wire. This is what it was looking like so far. Here at the end, I'm making sure to put them as tight as possible so nothing moves. And then I'm going to just cut off that excess piece and I'm going to tuck it under one of the other pieces of yarn a few times and then tuck it down with a little bit of hot glue. And now it's time to get this wreath all together. I'm going to apply this beautiful sign that I got from Dollar Tree. And we are going to remove that tag on the back and make sure that that ribbon at the top is overlapping underneath the bunny. And then using some hot glue, we are going to attach that NDF board sign from Dollar Tree to the wreath form. It is looking cute already, but I'm not done. I am going to take some of this floral from Dollar Tree. I love this, guys. I'm looking for it like crazy. This was my last pick of it, so I'll be in search of it. So I'm going to just remove some of these picks as you see right there. I'm dividing it into 3 different pieces and putting the ferns in between. I'm just playing with the flowers with this positioning until I'm happy with the result. And I did the same exact thing with the other side. And I did add some hot glue to the back there, where I did it off camera. My daughter was telling me that the eyes were looking like a demon, so I'm like, yes, we cannot do that. We cannot have that. This is a Christian household. So I took some of this paint in the back of one of my paintbrushes, and I did 2 dots on the eyes. And this is how it turned out. You know what you think of these? cleaner wipe from the Dollar Tree. Then I'm going to take some of these boxwood from Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to use toothpicks. I'm going to go ahead and remove the tags and put them into the reed form just by shoving them in between. This reed form is very tight, so it holds it in place without any need for any hot glue. Plus, that makes it easier for us to go ahead and change it out. And now I'm taking some of this lamb's ear that also came from Dollar Tree, and I'm removing the tag, and also I'm going to position them just a little bit lower than the boxwood. And I'm going to go ahead and just put them through the pieces of wicker, as you see right there. Then I'm going to go ahead and fluff things around, trying to make sure that they are nicely shaped with the reed and that the leaves are nicely symmetrical one side to the other. Once I'm done with the greenery, I'm going to take some of these radunculus, they're called, from Dollar Tree, and they have two slight colors. They're both pink, but one is a little bit lighter than the other. So I'm going to separate them into individual pieces. So I remove that tag, and I'm going to cut this a little bit, not too long, so I'm able to stick it on here. And again, no need for hot glue. The wicker is tight enough to hold this in place. And I'm going to put one of the same color on opposite sides of the greenery, as you see there. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other colors. I'm concentrating and putting the bigger ones at the edges, and the smaller ones will be in the center. Look how hard it was for me to get that in between those wicker pieces. So this is awesome. I love this wreath. It was really a great find. And now it's time to add the smaller ones. So I have one smaller flower left from each of the picks. So I'm going to add them to the middle, put in the one that is lighter in between the two that are darker, and the one that is darker in between the two that are lighter. For the finishing touch, I'm going to use one of these home signs that I got from Dollar Tree. I love it just the way that it is. I'm just going to go ahead and remove that tag and remove the little hanger that comes in the back of it as well. And I'm going to just position it right there onto my wreath. And in order to adhere it, I'm going to use a small amount of hot glue on here. You can easily use some zip ties or maybe glue some pipe cleaners to the back and tie it that way. But I just wanted to do this for video purpose. Let me know what you think. Are you ready to step out of the winter and into spring with me just for a moment? Today I bring you 3 beautiful spring home decor DIYs that are easy to make and will bring your decor to the next level. Let's get started. I'm going to take this bunny that I got from Dollar Tree. It was $1.25, and these tiles from Dollar Tree. Today's video is part of the recreation inspiration that I will tell you about later on, but my inspirations came from Holly from Hot Humble Pie. So here for this project, I am cutting off that lip as you see there because I want these two tiles to match perfectly as if they were just one. Once I was happy with that, I'm going to remove the backing from the tile and press it against the back surface of my bunny. And I place the second one slightly on top, like having that lip be on top of the other one, and it was perfect. It looked like it was just one tile together. As you see there, I'm making sure they match the designs perfectly and pressed it down. And then once I had everything nice and straight, I'm just going to trim off the excess tile. You cut these tiles, the back end completely comes off. It seems like they're only attached by the edges. Once you cut those edges off, those two pieces come apart. So as I'm cutting this along, I am gluing that piece down onto the bunny, being very careful that my glue is not too hot, otherwise it will deform the print of that plastic background or that plastic tile from Dollar Tree completely. So once I kept doing that as I was going along, here it was a little bit challenging, so I went and used my smaller scissors to finish the rest. And came in even closer using my X-Acto knife, just peeling off and cutting off all the edges that the scissors left behind. I actually like this side of the bunny, so I want to preserve it and be able to use it in both sides. As I mentioned earlier, these two pieces fall apart, and here exactly you can see what I meant when I said that. That sticky area and the actual tile with the design become two separate pieces. So just use some hot glue, actually in a low temp setting, to be able to glue this together. If you do it at a high temperature, this will deform your style, or the print of the tile, I should say. Next, I took some folk art white chalk paint, and I'm going to completely cover the bunny with it. I truly love the design on this tile, so I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and a small makeup blender. It fits in your finger. I got it in the makeup section at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just dab it onto that antique wax and slowly tap and wipe all over those raised surfaces so I can bring that design right back to life. Friends, if you enjoy any of today's projects, please don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up. It truly helps my channel grow. And share, because sharing is caring. And don't forget to let me know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much. And now it's time to embellish this. I'm going to use these florals that I got from Dollar Tree. They're just called bouquet. I'm not sure what kind of flower they are, but I love that tone for spring. I'm going to take, actually, I ended up just using one of these picks. I'm going to cut them to individual pieces and then arrange them in a swag in order to put it at the bottom section of my bunny. I started this YouTube channel to connect with people that love crafting as much as I do and find it as therapeutic as I do. I found crafting in a moment in which stress was so high, pretty much in the middle of the pandemic, and watching other creators and creating things myself, and even simply going to buy supplies, after we were able to be out there and shop, was so therapeutic. So I just want to connect with those who feel the same way as I do. And I would love to know where you're watching from and what motivates you to craft, and what really, if it just lights up and quiets your brain like it does for me. I really think that crafting is therapy, and I wonder how many other people like me are out there that use this form of art to simply soothe the soul. All right, so as you saw there, I took some jute cord and just wrapped it in that middle section of the swag, so I'm able to cover up those stems and also have a little bit more surface area to glue this onto my bunny when that time comes. I covered it in about 3 layers of jute. Then I cut off the excess and tack it down with a little bit of hot glue. Then I just rearranged the flowers, trying to have them be more towards the front and nice and full. Then I glued my swag to the lower bottom corner of the bunny. Next, I took a variety of Dollar Tree ribbon, and I'm going to create a 3-layer bow. I started with this burlap ribbon that I got during the fall season at Dollar Tree. If you see here, I'm just looping it from one side to the other, creating 2 loops on each side and 1 tail on each side, and kept my tails nice and long. And I did pretty much the same process with the other 2 ribbons. I'm just going to have it sit there until I'm done with these 2 ribbons. I just continue to stack them on top of each other. Having something in the middle holding it in place truly helped while I worked with the other piece of ribbon. Next, I put a piece of raffia right in the middle and use it to tie this. Here, I used a piece of raffia that I got from Dollar Tree. From some piece or the other, it was not strong enough, and I tried to tie it, it broke. So I'm going to take some actual raffia that I found at Dollar Tree and tie it in the middle. Next, I fluff my bow, and I'm going to dovetail the ends. And that just means that I'm going to fold it as you see there, long waist in half, and then cut upward to rebuild a little dovetail end. And I repeated that process with all tails. Actually, no, with the 2 burlap ribbons. For the cloth one, I just cut that one in a slant. and then glue my bow to the middle of that swag. But I'm going to glue it in an angle. Next, I took this magnet that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to glue it right there in the bottom on the corner. I want it to look like it's a tag just hanging off of the swag. Then I took the leftover lace ribbon that I had from the bow, and I'm going to glue it right there at the top section of the bunny. I'm just going to put two tiny beads of glue on the one in the middle and one on each side, press it down, holding it taut until the glue dried, and trimmed off the corner with small scissors. Then I took this jute cord bow that I got from a decor piece at Dollar Tree from a previous DIY and put it right there in the middle, and I thought this was the perfect finishing touch. But I'm not done yet. I thought that the edges looked unfinished. So I'm going to take the same jute cord and use it to line the entire silhouette of the bunny. I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue on that edge and keep gluing it all along, making sure to put hot glue in every little section, but not too much that it will seep through. And I did that until the entire outside perimeter of the bunny was covered. And then that hanger that I removed from it in the beginning, I'm going to use that cord from it for the DIY. That blue did not match my project, so I'm going to use those beads that you see there that I have stained for a previous DIY but never used. And I'm going to replace those beads for these beads. Going in from the back, I took my X-Acto knife and I punched a hole. You can't really see it on there. I'm sorry that I didn't film it, but I did a little slit on there, and I was able to push this plastic piece that the jute cord had on top of it, and it was perfect to put it on there, and it was seamless. You can really see the hole. I did that with both sides, then tied up the jute cord and fed the jute cord after I did two knots on it through the beads to hide it. I did the same thing with the other side, and now this project is done. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this one? This one might be my favorite. I started with this reed form from Dollar Tree and this burlap from Dollar Tree as well. I opened up the burlap and laid the reed form on it on the back. Then I'm going to add hot glue onto the brackets of the reed form. That way it is attached to the fabric. And I did that all the way around, making sure that my fabric is nicely stretched out and wrinkle free. And I did that all the way around the reed form. Then I took my rotary tool and trimmed off all the edges from the outside, the inside, and then I created some slats as well. So here I kind of lost some footage, guys. I'm sorry when I did the circle in the inside, but I pretty much just drew a circle with my rotary tool as you see there and cut off the exits. And then just as you see here, see how I'm just going in a circle going around? I did the same thing in the inside. And then I created some slits with the same tool in about, I would say like 1 to 2 inches increments. And I did that, the same thing that I did to the inside, I did to the outside, as you see right there. Next, I arm myself with my hot glue gun and my finger protectors. We're going to tap this down. Just make sure that you protect yourself, guys, because that hot glue goes right through that burlap and you will burn your fingers. I just kept doing this in the inside and the outside until my entire reed form was completely covered. And this is what it looked like when I was completely done with it. Then I took some floral moss from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use 2 different packs. I'm going to start with this green one, and I'm just adding hot glue to the front of that fabric, and then just adding the moss onto it, making sure, again, be careful you don't burn your fingers on here. I kept doing that until the entire reed form was completely covered. Then I came in with this second moss. This one is a little bit more of a dead moss kind of thing. I did want the variation in color with this one. I want this to be nice and whimsical. So I mixed it with some of that green as well, just to bring it down a little bit. It was a little too brown for me. So I wanted to have just a little bit of variation. So I have that springing kind of look in this piece. And then I'm going to just add it in any areas that kind of have less of the other moss. And I just kept doing that until I went around the entire wreath form. And this is perfectly what I wanted. So we're going to take this galvanized sign from Dollar Tree and add it to the top section of the wreath right here. And I'm just going to use hot glue for this. If you want this to stay a little bit longer, or if you want to keep it out in hot days, I will recommend using a different kind of glue. But I'm going to just be using this in the beginning of spring, and you know that it's not going to be that hot at that time. I did make sure, though, to secure it in any area that touched the wreath form. All right, then we're going to take this galvanized birdhouse that we got from Dollar Tree as well, and we are going to stick it right here in the middle. But I wanted it to go through that that whole fabric and everything, so it will be nicely secured. So it took a little bit of elbow grease, but I got it in there by wedging it in between the brackets that the reform has in the top and the bottom. And then when I got here, it was rough, but be careful that you don't puncture yourself as you did this. I was very careful, and then I went it through, and look at that. It fits perfectly. I just bent it back so it will stay straight, and then took my pliers and I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess wire. It took a little bit of elbow grease, but then I bent it back and forth and removed that excess. All right, and then I went to the back of this and secured it with some hot glue to make sure that it did not spin in the wind. Now we are going to decorate this. So beautiful. Wait and see. I can't wait. I'm so excited. All right, so then I took these leftover pieces that I had. I used these with some other DIY some while back, but I had 3 of each color. So I'm going to space them out as you see there, trying to have a nice pattern, because if you know me, guys, I'm all about patterns and symmetry. So I'm trying to figure out how I can space them out so they would look symmetrical. So I ended up doing 3 as you see there, then putting the yellow, not the yellow, the pink in the middle right here. And I made sure that they were all going in the same direction. Once I was happy with the positioning, I came in and added hot glue to the bottom section right here and glued it down, held them in place until each piece dried. And if there was any piece that was, not laying down, like the top section sticked out, then those pieces I added hot glue to the bottom section and also to the top as well. So everything laid down nice and flat. Then I brought in these purple flowers also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put them in between those empty areas that you see there. But in order to have them placed perfectly, I lifted the previous one and kind of like nestled it underneath of it and then glued underneath of that, if that makes any sense. So I lifted the previous one, placed that plastic piece underneath so it will be hidden, and then added hot glue underneath of the piece. And you see how it looks seamless? I did that all the way around. In the pieces in which I tacked down the top and the bottom, I kind of fed the flower through the middle of those pieces and being very careful that I don't break anything as I go along or unstick anything. And that way I was able to do the same thing, tuck it underneath and add hot glue to the end. And this is how we went around that portion. And I did that until I had all my purple pieces in place. Next, I came in with some of these rosemary pieces from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to remove individual little pieces. I started right here with creating a little focal place for my little birdhouse. I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue to the edge here and then position it right in the corner, sticking up. I did the same thing with the other side as well. Then added another piece in front of it in the same way. And then I took those green pieces you see above my hand, and I also glued them on the side to bring in even more visual interest to our little birdhouse. And I did another one to the other side as well. And it's looking gorgeous already, but I'm not done yet. I'm going to take more of these rosemary bushes and put them all along these edges in between, as you see here, all the way around the entire wreath form. This is giving me fairy garden vibes. What do you think? All right, now we're going to create a hanger. To do that, I'm going to use some of this leftover burlap fabric. I'm going to start by just trimming off any loose ends. Then I'm going to add some hot glue to one of the ends and fold it over. Then I trimmed off the excess burlap and tack the remaining end onto the other one by just adding a strip of hot glue right along the side right here and folding it over. And this creates a nice finished strip that is perfect to create as a hanger. I'm just going to go ahead and fold it over as you see right here and stick it to the back of our wreath. I just stack down one side at a time, making sure that it's adhered properly in between of those brackets there. Then I brought it over, making sure that that loop is still intact so you're able to put a wreath hanger right through that loop. And I did the same thing on the other side of that. And once it was completely adhered, I took another piece of the burlap fabric and I glued it on top of that union just to reinforce everything, and so it will look nicely finished as well. And you could stop here, but you know already I'm not done yet. I'm going to take some of this chestnut color from Apple Barrel and distress the birdhouse and the welcome sign. This is the perfect color that mimics rust. You can go as light or as heavy as you can. The choice is yours. Let me know what you think. Our next inspiration today, we are going to make a beautiful wreath using these items I found at Dollar Tree. The first thing that I'm going to do is wrap my wreath form using that deco mesh. So I'm going to fold it in half as you see right there, just so I have better coverage. And I'm going to just loop it over like this as you see right there. I'm going to take the end because it was pretty frayed and I folded it a few times, and then I'm going to hot glue them together. Here, be very careful because the hot glue goes through the deco mesh and you want to burn yourself, so use some finger protectors. Once that was nicely secured, I'm going to start wrapping my deco mesh, making sure that it stays folded in half as I go along. And I'm just going to wrap it around the entire wreath form and also make sure that it's overlapping a bit so we have a nice coverage of the wire. The deco mesh from Dollar Tree tends to fray a lot, so I'm just trimming off all those little strings of mesh that keep piling up. So here I'm just making sure that everything is nicely folded and even, and I'm going to keep wrapping that along the entire mesh. Just be very careful that the mesh don't interlock with each other because that's when a lot of the fraying also happens. And I did this until I covered the entire wreath form. After one roll, I had this much left to do. So here I'm just going to cut off that excess, bunch the deco mesh back together and add a generous amount of hot glue there in the back and hold it in place until it's set. Here I'm using my scissors because again guys, this is very hot. Then I'm taking a new roll of Dollar Tree mesh and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start up by gluing the end of it on that area where I ended the other one. Here as you see, I'm folding the edges just to make sure that I have a nice seam in between and more, adhesion. And I'm just holding it in place with my scissors in there until it's set. And we're going to do the same thing. And when you position the deco mesh, make sure that you have the frayed end on the same side that you had the other one. So that way, as you're rolling, you are hiding the frayed edges, and this keeps your wreath from unraveling and becoming all, fuzzy and things. So here, as I'm nearing to the end, I'm going to keep wrapping until I can no longer see any of that wire. And then once I got to the very last revolution of the deco mesh here, I'm going to fold my deco mesh with both ends in to make sure that the fray edge is inside and not, peeking out. So I tucked it under, wrapped it around as you see there, and then we're going to glue it down to the back of the wreath form, again folding those edges and being very careful not to burn yourself. Now we're going to take that beautiful sign from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove this hanger and I'm going to save it for another project because it's so cute. I love the beads. All right, so once that was off, we're going to take some hot glue and add it underneath of that NDF board, a nice generous amount of hot glue, and then we're going to place this down nice and neat, making sure that everything is even and centered. And the funnest part is the embellish. So I'm going to take some of this boxwood that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm just splitting it in half. And I'm going to just cut off the individual little pieces as you see there. And I'm going to try to figure out exactly how I want this. I want to make sure that my welcome word is not covered. So I'm here, I'm just curving the pieces of the peaks, the little branches here to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I want to make sure that I know exactly how I want them positioned before I start gluing anything down. So once I'm happy with that positioning, then I'm coming in with some hot glue and adding it on there. Then I'm going to wait for that to sit and set. And then we are going to move over to adding a beautiful bow. But we got to make it first. To do that, I'm going to use these two beautiful ribbons that I got from Dollar Tree. So here I'm measuring exactly how much I will need. I'm folding my ribbon because I'm trying to do a double loop bow. So I'm folding my ribbon here to make sure that I have enough to do that. And I'm putting them together because I think it's just easier since this is what I'm going to use them like. I'm going to take some hot glue and we're going to start gluing that smaller ribbon on top in the middle of the thicker ribbon. And we're going to do that until we do the entire length of the ribbons. And this is what it was looking like so far. If you do this, guys, use a silicone mat underneath of your project. So here I'm just looping my ribbon a few times around, as you see there, like doing like a crisscross looping. And I'm going to make sure that the ends are towards the center because I'm going to be tying this at the center. I don't want anything coming apart. So here I was just having the biggest fight with the ribbon because it kept up and up. But here, there you go. Finally, I got it done. I'm going to take a piece of jute cord and tie it at the center to keep it all in place. Then we're going to go ahead and fluff up the bow, making sure that everything is nice and even. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to go ahead and cut off that excess jute. And we are going to embellish this a little bit further. But first, we are going to take a piece of that middle ribbon and use it to cover up that jute cord. It just makes this look a lot more finished and professional. Then I just fluffed off my bow and we're going to go ahead and glue it down using some hot glue. And I thought that will be it, but you're not ready. I'm not done yet. I decided that I wanted a little bit more. So first of all, I wanted my hanger to match my bow. So instead of using the back of this as just a regular hanger, I'm going to go ahead instead and create a hanger using the ribbon. I got this pink ribbon from Dollar Tree, as I said before, and I folded it in half long ways just to give it a little bit of a thinner look and more stability. And once I knew exactly how much I needed, I'm going to cut it there, loop it in that position as you see right there. It just makes it easier to use one of those hangers for wreaths this way. So I'm just adding hot glue onto both pieces there. I'm going to hold them in place till they're both dry. And then I'm going to come in with another piece of that ribbon just to secure it on top of it and make sure that this stays in place. Guys, safety first, use your finger protectors. All right, so once that was done, I'm still not done. I said, you know what, I need a little bit more. So, all right, no. Let's add some of these florals from Dollar Tree as well. So I got these last spring, I believe. And I use them all up, guys. I love these. It looks so natural. So I love how this purple and this pink played together with the colors that were in the sign. But I was one piece of pink short. So you know what I say, you know what, I love the way it is. I'm not going to compromise. So I added it on there, what I had. I am praying that I get more of the pink this spring and I can put another piece on the other side. But for now, this is fine. I love how it's looking. Let me know what you think about it. And if there's something different, you will do. But I love the way this one turned out. But let me know what you think. For the first wreath, I'm going to be using this wood round that I got from a garage sale for $3. The first thing that I did was take some heat up that vinyl that was on top of it, and scrape it off using my scraper tool. The vinyl left some sticky residue, so I'm going to use a sanding block, some glue gun, and a scraper. The sanding block wasn't removing most of the residue, so I added some glue gun to it, and I kept scraping it over it with my scraper and using the sanding block, alternated between the two until it was completely removed. Once the surface dried, I gave 3 coats of paint using my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And make sure that the surface was even and smooth, and I'm going to put it to dry. In the meantime, I'm going to take one of these words that I got during the Easter season at Dollar Tree. I'm going to use the word welcome. I took some Mod Podge and I'm going to give it a full coat of Mod Podge using a paintbrush. I do this so the paint that I'm going to use after this step will not scratch off. And now that the Mod Podge is dry, I'm going to use some of this folk art rich black paint and give it 2 coats. Once that was done and dry, I'm going to come back in with the Mod Podge one more time and give it another coat over it to protect the finish as well and also prevent scratching. And of course, I dried it with my heat gun. Then I took the wood round and I'm going to use the Mod Podge multi that I got from Plaid, and I'm going to give it a full coat using that. This product can be used to protect surfaces that you're planning to use indoor or outdoors. Now it's time to embellish it. I'm going to use this burlap fabric that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just measure up exactly how much I need to cover that little third of the wood round. Once I know exactly how much I need, I'm going to go ahead and cut off that section. Then I'm going to place it right there, and I'm going to use hot glue to glue this on. But first I wanted to fray the edges a little bit just to make it look a bit more rustic. Now it's time to attach it to the wood round. So I'm just adding hot glue on the edges of the wood round and pressing the fabric down, and I'm allowing some of that hot glue to seep through the small holes of the burlap. And I kept doing that until I got to the other side of the fabric. Just making sure that my fabric was nice and straight at the top, so I had a nice straight and seamless line. Once I was done attaching the front, I'm going to cut off any excess from the back, but I'm leaving a little piece that is big enough to slap over the back side of the wood round. And I'm just adding some hot glue to the bottom. I'm cutting some slits so everything will be nice and straight and I don't have any bulging on the edges. Once I had that nice and cut, I'm going to take my finger protector, add some hot glue to the board, and press down that fabric down on here. Make sure to use protection because that hot glue seeps through the holes of the burlap very easily and you can get a nasty burn. Friends, if you enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. So when I was doing this, I decided to put this board over this little sticky peg things there that you see, and it really ruined my finish. So I ended up sanding it down completely and then giving it another coat of paint one more time. And at this point, I thought it was a happy mistake because I ended up leaving it a bit distressed. Then I'm going to take some of these red tulips that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use one pick and I'm going to cut them into shorter stems as you see right there. And I'm going to tuck them into the burlap fabric. I'm trying to keep it in a pattern of one higher than the other just to have it nice and symmetrical. And I want those leaves also to stand out in the background. Finally, I was happy with the placement. Then I'm going to take some of this, I don't know, it's like a fern kind of thing, but it hangs from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cut a couple individual pieces off of the larger pick. And I'm going to adjust it onto the fabric as you see right there, trying to make it look like it's flowing down pretty naturally. And I'm tucking some pieces behind my tulips as well to add some greenery and some more texture in between the flowers as well. My friend, I want to take a quick moment to say thank you for clicking on my video, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy it. And look how cute we're looking so far. But we're not done yet. You're not ready, right? There comes the welcome sign. I'm going to attach it right on top of my burlap fabric right there using some hot glue. Now it is time for a bow. So I'm going to use a combination of this polka dotted ribbon from Dollar Tree. And here I'm going to just crisscross it on top of each other, exposing the printed side. And then I'm going to just place my scissors over it to hold it in place because I'm not done with this bow yet. I'm going to do it to be double layered. So I'm going to use this other burlap polka dotted ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree as well. And I thought it matched very nicely with the fabric that I used in the bottom. So I decided to create a double loop bow for this one. So what I did, I just looped it in opposite directions 2 times until I ended up with 2 tails and 2 loops on each side. Once I was done with the second bow, I'm going to take the first bow that I made and I'm going to put it over this one. And then I tied it with a piece of jute cord in the middle. But before tying it tightly, I fluffed up the bow to make sure that everything was nice and symmetrical. My friend, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, make sure that you hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you each time that I upload a new video. All these things are free and they mean the world to me. Alright, so now we're going to just cut off the excess jute cord from the back of the bow. And we are going to dovetail the ends as well. Then fluff, 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 fluff. We are going to cover up the jute cord with another piece of that polka dotted ribbon and fasten it in the back using a bit of hot glue. We add some hot glue to the back of the bow and add it to the top of the wood round. And this is complete. Let me know what you think. Okay, for the next inspiration for today, we're going to be using one of these wreath forms from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it using that burlap ribbon that I also got from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to create a little loop there and attach this piece onto the same fabric using some hot glue. Once that glue's set, you're going to start wrapping this burlap fabric around the entire wreath form. One roll wasn't sufficient, so once I got to the end of the first roll here, I'm going to make sure that I end at the back of my wreath form, and I'm going to use hot glue to attach it to the other piece of ribbon that was there before that one. And I'm going to start the new ribbon on where the old ones ended, and I'm going to continue to wrap it until I run out of that. I had a little piece left from another project, I wanted to use it, so in here I'm going to actually start with a new one again and wrap it until I have the entire wreath form finished. And I'm going to glue the last piece on the back, as you see right there. Now that it's covered, I'm going to take this sign from Dollar Tree. We're going to remove that hanger, and I'm going to glue it on to the wreath form. I love how these colors play together. So now I'm going to take some of these little bunny butts that I got from Dollar Tree as well. I love these. I'm going to use a combination of the pink ones and the blue ones on this project. I'm placing each one of the bunny butts on different sections of the wreath. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want them to look. Do I want them to come in into the egg like this, or do I want to make them look like they're running around? So first I put them like this. I'm trying to figure out how many I want to add to it and in what direction. So I decided this is how many I wanted to use, and then I decided that I wanted them to be like running behind each other. So I am positioning that all the feet will be going in the same direction as if they were going in circles around the egg. And I'm going to glue them down using some hot glue. Now it's time to create a hanger for this. So I'm going to use the same burlap fabric that I used to wrap the wreath form with, and I'm cutting a section that will be big enough for me to create my hanger. I'm going to wrap it or fold it inward as you see there, making sure that the edges are in the inside to make it a nice skinny hanger, and it also gives it more stability. Now it's time to add it to the wreath form. So you're going to flip it over as you see right there. Get your finger protectors ready because you're going to need them for burlap and hot glue. It is guaranteed that you'll burn yourself if you don't use it. So just here I added a nice amount of hot glue onto the top of my egg, and then I'm just going to hold them in place until that glue sets. Then I took some more hot glue and put it over the hanger pieces and the other one, and I took a piece of burlap and put it on top just to give this even more security. And look how cute it's looking. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to take some of these florals from Dollar Tree and I'm going to cut some pieces. I'm going to cut the pieces that have the flowers only. I'm going to leave the ferns out. I took the pieces of florals and I'm going to just intertwine them in between the bunny butts, kind of looking like if there's a vine growing around the egg. And I'm just making sure to like bend my pieces of flowers so it will contour to the shape of the egg. And I'm using some hot glue to attach it, making sure to keep my fingers holding everything in place until that hot glue completely dries. And I kept doing this, adding the flowers in the same direction, overlapping them a little bit so it looked like one continuous piece. Once I glue this last piece right here, we are all done. Let me know what you think. For this DIY, we will be using this egg wreath form, but not in the way you think. I took this burlap fabric that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and position my wreath form over a piece big enough to cover it and trimmed off the excess. Then we're going to glue it to the wreath form. I'm going to start with north, south, east, and west. I'm going to start here in the beginning, gluing it down in place. Then I'm going to just go ahead and do some slits along the entire wreath form in the outside portion. Then I'm tacking down the top section of the egg the same way I did the bottom, just tacking it down as you see there. But I'm making sure that we are keeping that edge intact, or the form of the wreath form, and trimming off any excess burlap as we go along. Then I did the same thing with the sides as well. And this is to make sure that everything is stretched out properly before I tack along the rest. Once that was established, I just began adding hot glue to that and then tucking the edges underneath. And I did that until this whole bottom section was completely covered. Before we do the top, I need to first slit right here in the beginning. But we're going to do it a little bit higher up because we want to keep half of that burlap at the bottom intact. And I just cut it into slits as you see there, and I did the same thing on the other side. Now we are going to tack down the top section, the same way that we did with the bottom. But here we have two sides that we have to deal with. So I just keep doing one side, then I'm doing the other. That way I have a finished edge on both the side and the bottom. I keep doing that until it was completely covered. Here we're going to go ahead and slit here all the pieces, just a tiny little slit all along that area. This is so I have a nice finished look as well as here. And I want to have this look as a basket if you have not figured that one out yet. And I'm cutting the edges in that manner just so I have a finished look here. I don't want any frayed edges in this section. And I just continue to tack everything down as you see right there, going in the same level, making sure that everything remains straight. When I got here to the corner, I'm just tacking it down sideways. I'm doing it twice because I want to make sure that that edge is nice and strong for the next step ahead. And this is the finished look. Now we are going to embellish. I'm going to use these flowers that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut them, three sections of them, and glue them to the back of the basket. The stems here were a little bit too long, and I did not want this poking anywhere in the burlap or anywhere else. So I position them as you see here. I want them to be spread out like that because I want it to look like flowers that are spilling out of the basket. I tack them down with some hot glue on these exact positions. Then I came in with another portion of flowers. Here I wasn't sure if I was going to use the purple or the pink. I ultimately decided on the pink. Tell me in the comment section, will you have went with purple or will you have gone with the pink? All right, so I'm gluing them in between the other ones, trying to make them look as natural as possible and filling up any gaps in between as well. Next, I took some of the leaves that I had from the same pick, and I'm going to just glue two right here on the edges on both sides of this, just to add a different variation. Then I came in with some boxwood, and I'm going to position them here, but I want to make sure that I'm kind of covering up all those stems. It just looks a little bit too scanty in that area. So I'm just gluing some of this eucalyptus. Is this boxwood? I think it's eucalyptus. I always get them mixed up. I'm sorry. All right, so we're going to add hot glue to the stems here and stick them into the sections where we want them to make sure that we are covering up those stems from the back. Then I flip it over and hold it in place until everything glues. And I just kept doing that until I filled in as much as I wanted. Then I came in with these little hanging pieces. They don't hang as well when you have them off at that pick. So I'm just bending the area where the first couple leaves are, and then I'm going to tack it down in the back and hold it in place so that way they will look as if they are dangling down in the front. I did that in 3 different sections here at the front of this basket. Look how beautiful that's looking, but I'm not done yet. I still wanted to fill in some other areas, so I added some boxwood right here on the edges, or actually eucalyptus again, on the edges, so it would look like the flowers are kind of spilling out. And I thought that the back looked a little bit scanty on the top as well, so I ended up taking the rest of the blue pick, cutting the stems out and gluing it right here to the middle to add some more fullness to it. And look at that. What do you think? It needed it, right? All right, now we're going to add some more boxwood to the front and some more big flowers. So I'm just taking a couple pieces, adding them here in areas in which I felt that it was just too much green and we needed a little bit of color in there. So I did it pretty much the same way that I did the boxwood, put them in position on this side and then glue them in the back once I flipped it over and I saw where that plastic piece kind of fell and held it there until the piece dried. I did the same thing with the other side and anywhere in between where there was some color missing. Then I took the back and covered it with another piece of the same fabric so this will look nice and finished on the back as well. And cut off the excess burlap. Look how cute, but I'm not done yet. I'm going to take one of these galvanized pieces from the Dollar Tree. I chose the word blessings and I'm going to position it right here. Then I took this chalkboard ornament from the Dollar Tree. They're actually 1 cent right now if you find them, and painted them yellow. And then I took my paint markers and I outlined first the silhouette of the bee, and then I added little antennas to it. Next, I did the rest of the body pretty much. And this is what we had turned out with. And we had that hole in the beginning there. So I took a tumbling towel block and I added it to the back, making sure that the piece of the tumbling towel block is hitting that hole. Then I took some of the same chalk paint that I painted it with and filled in that hole, and that worked just as well as spackling. Now we are going to go ahead and give it a little smiley face and glue all this to the front of our wreath. I just added hot glue. You can add some E6000 instead as well for some permanent hold. And then I glued the V right here in this corner with some hot glue as well. To finish it off, I added some moss to the edges there where the florals are. I just glued it right there all along. And I thought this was the perfect finishing touch for this piece. Now we are done. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this one. I love it. These bunny wreaths from the Dollar Tree, some yarn and some of those flowers and some of that burlap ribbon that also came from the Dollar Tree. Pretty much everything on here came from the Dollar Tree. The first thing that I did, I took a piece of the yarn and I'm going to go ahead and tie it onto the wreath form in a place in which two brackets can hold it in place. So I chose to do it in the inside of the bunny ear, as you see there. I just wanted to put it in a place in which there was a vertical piece of wire that will keep the thing on place. It will take the yarn in place, and then I'm going to start wrapping it in the outside part of the ear, trying to keep this as close together as possible, but not too tight that it will bend the wire. And I just kept wrapping everything around until I completely covered the entire circumference of the bunny wreath. Okay friends, when I got to the end right here, I just kept wrapping and pushing the yarn closer together until I completely covered that gap. It started getting like a gap in a V shape, but I just kept pressing the bottom more towards the other side, like trying to open up that V, and I just kept doing the yarn until I got, to that area. And then I'm thinking here, I need to continue here. I didn't feel like cutting and starting, so what I did is I wrapped around one side, and then I went over the ring one more time and then looped it over the ear, and then I started wrapping the ear just like you see there. I did that until I completely covered the ear, and I didn't want to cut it again, so I did the same thing. I wrapped it over like you see there, and then into the ear, and started wrapping very close to the stem of the ear right there, putting it in between the two ears and then into the ear that I'm wrapping there. I hope that makes sense. Friends, if you like this video, just make sure that you leave me a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job, and it shows it to more people, and I do want my channel to grow, so just help me by just giving me the thumbs up. Thank you so much. And if you feel inclined to do so, go ahead and subscribe. It is free and it means the world to me. And ta-da! Just like that, we wrapped the entire thing. Once we got to the end, I just created a loop, wrapped it around, tied it twice, and secured it with a bit of hot glue. Now I'm gonna use some of this burlap fabric that I got at Dollar Tree. Yes, Dollar Tree. This is brand new, guys. I was so excited when I found it. So I took a piece that was big enough to cover that ear there. I measured by just taking a look and putting it on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the entire strip because I'm going to be using it for both ears. So I'm cutting this whole strip, and I'm going to go ahead and place the fabric underneath of the ear, just making sure that it covers it nicely and leaving enough room for another one. And once I was happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and take my glue gun, and I'm going to just run a bead of hot glue along the entire circumference. Well, not circumference because it's an ear stretched out, but anyway, let's get to the point here. The entire stretch of the ear, and then I'm pressing down my burlap ribbon onto it until it's completely secure. Then I'm cutting off the excess on there and checking for any places where it didn't stick, and I repeated the same process with the other ear as well. Once again, I checked for areas that did not stick correctly, and there was one, so I just added a little bit of hot glue underneath and pressed it right down. And I found another spot right there, and just making sure that you have nice contact along the whole thing. Now I'm gonna take more of that fabric and I'm going to go ahead and cover this circle as well. So I just went over it. This was a lot easier than the little ears. I just flipped it over, added a generous amount of hot glue along the entire circumference of the wreath form there, and pressed it down securely onto the fabric, making sure that the printed side is towards you, so paint it backwards. Then I took my scissors and I just cut alongside the entire circumference of it, just trying to cut it as shorter than the actual wreath form, so that way it will be tucked away. And then I just trimmed off any other areas in which I didn't cut close enough to the wreath form, just to make sure that you have that whole shape of the bunny and we don't lose the shape as we add in the fabric on there. Now it's time to trim the ears. So I just cut off the excess. I did leave some of the burlap out because I do want to have a little bit of a bigger effect on it, and I do want to fray the ends of my burlap. So I didn't, cut it exactly where the wire is. I left some space around the ears just to give it a little bit more character. I just made sure to cut the fabric in the same shape as the ears, so it will be nice and cohesive. Once the burlap was in the size that I wanted, I just took off some of the threads just to fray the sides and give this more of a nicer look. Then I just went over the edges, just cleaning up some of the burlap that's still sticking up, making sure everything is nice and clean. And then once I was happy with the outcome, I'm just going to go ahead and trim any little, straggly ends or anything that just doesn't look, cohesive with the whole piece. Just take a quick look of it and, just trim in here and there. Once everything was nice and trim, I'm coming in with these flowers. I also got these at the Dollar Tree. I got these about even a year ago. Never got to use them. Found them as I was cleaning my craft room, and I was like, this is the perfect flowers for this. So the first thing that I did is just remove some of the crinkles that it had. I learned this from another YouTuber. I cannot remember who that is, but whoever you are, thank you. This is like a lifesaver. So I just gave my flowers new life, and then I'm taking different pieces that I have from different flowers that I use for different DIYs, and I'm just taking all of the greenery off of them because I'm going to be using them for this as well. These flowers came with little, clips, but I didn't like the way they look in the clips. So I'm removing the clips, and I'm going to go ahead and trim the piece of plastic that is sticking out there on board of these flowers, so I have a little bit more flexibility of where I want to put them. And I'm going to place them right on there. Use a nice blob of hot glue and put it on the fabric there in the yarn, and press this right down on there. I really like how it looked there. And now I'm going to come in with the little greenery and put it on the ends of the flowers in different spots, just to give this a little bit more variation. I love the fact that none of the leaves have the same color, that they all have different shapes and colors. I think it just adds more interest to this piece. I decided to put them in different sections in which I think will look nice and natural, and just creating different visual effects on it. Just trying to be not so much of a pattern, but try to make it as natural as possible. And here you go. But you already know, I'm not done yet. We are going to add a little bit more. Of course, we need a hanger because we're gonna be hanging this off for something, right? So I used the same piece of burlap that I trimmed off before and created a loop. I just stuck it on each side. I'm sorry that this is not in focus as good, but I pretty much just created a hook using the same burlap and just stuck it on with some hot glue. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to be taking some of this little metal signs from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a pack of 3, and I chose the word blessings because it's Easter blessings. So I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue this on there on the fabric, placed it right there in an angle, and this is it, guys. I hope you like it. Look how cute that is. This is amazing. I love this thing, guys. I am in love with it. If it doesn't sell, I think I'm gonna keep it. Let me know what you think. Is this something that you want to recreate? And if you do recreate it, please be sure to send me some pictures because I love to see how yours came out. Let me know what you think. I love those bold colors. I love the guava or the coral. I don't know, I always get those two colors mixed up. But anyway, I'm rambling here. But anyway, I'm super in love with this, guys. I hope you guys love it as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, here are a couple more videos you are sure to enjoy. Thank you so much for stopping by. You're amazing. Bye.